Welcome to Town Hall. Welcome to Town Hall, folks. Thanks for coming out. There's going to be a lot of public comments tonight on the parks policy and a lot of listening by this town board. We just completed our police promotions. It's a very, very special time for the town. I want to thank you for your patience. All right, I want to thank you for your patience in waiting for that ceremony and respecting the fact that it's really important for the families here in Orangetown. So now we're back in session, and we're going to start our public hearing, which has to do with a proposed amendment to our town code to make our parks, sort of change the way access to the parks takes place. And just a couple of explanatory kind of comments on that for folks who may not have been in town hall before and participated in a public hearing. Every time the town considers a change, no matter how minor, to the town code, we have a public hearing on that topic. And the ground rules for the public hearing are: you use the podium over here. The town board will not take any action until it's heard everything that it needs to hear from people. We value that input. There's a little clock on the wall, and I've got a remote here, and we try to keep people's comments as brief and to the point as possible, and it kind of goes down from 3 minutes. So I appreciate that, and of course the reason why we do that is because we're eager to hear from everybody who wants to speak. We have a sign-in sheet here with probably about 16 or 17 people signed in for the hearing on the park policy, and a few people signed in for our usual public comment period that takes place every time we have a regular town board meeting. And there's probably about 12 people signed in for that. Some of those people may have intended to sign in on the parks policy comment sheet, and that's why when we finish with the people who've signed in, I'll ask for a raise of hands, and if anybody puts their hand up, we'll say, come on over and say what you think needs to be said. Having said that, I'd like to make one other thing. Actually, it's often the case that this is, again, it's kind of a formal procedure, and it's not a situation where you're going to get a lot of kind of answers to questions from town board members or others. It just doesn't work well in a large room like this. And so you're going to walk out of here at the end of the night, and you may still have questions or concerns or ideas. The door's always open, and those kind of conversations can take place. They do take place all the time, and we encourage you to participate in that. Bring ideas in whatever way works for you, by email, by setting up a meeting, by coming and speaking in the public comment period. It's all welcome. So having said that, I'd like to make a motion to open our public hearing. I have a second from Divney. All in favor say aye. Aye. We did the Pledge of Allegiance in the other room, so we're all set. We started the meeting off with the town clerk and the attendants and everything else. This is a town board meeting, that's right. We started our town board meeting in the other room, so apologies to that, but we need to get going on our public hearing, which is scheduled. So the first up is Mr. Tom Lynch.
Good evening to the town board and members of the public. My name is Tom Lynch, and I reside in Pearl River. I am one of the founders of the newly formed Preserve Orangetown Community Advocacy Group. We speak tonight with the hope that the town board will not be casting any official votes with respect to the future of how our parks will be used. Preserve Orangetown supports your decision not to vote until all the facts are discovered and an intelligent and rational consensus can be drawn by the town board and the community at large. As part of the consensus formula, Preserve Orangetown also hopes to be an integral part of the process. This is a very gut-wrenching topic, which our community and will hold to be an important part of how this is properly resolved. We would also like to caution members of the public and the town board about discussing legal issues publicly and with reckless emotional abandonment. Without fully understanding all legal nuances, we will place our town in jeopardy. Giving half-baked legal interpretations of case law is not smart. This also includes making legal declarations online. Please allow the professional attorneys to hash out legalities among themselves in the business environment that they are accustomed to. With all that being said, it is our hope and exception that the town board will be prepared to make a legally binding vote on park usage at the next town board meeting. The Preserve Orangetown position on park usage remains steadfast. Our residents pay for the complete upkeep cost of these facilities. In recent years, it has become increasingly harder to enjoy access to these parks that we finance through our taxes due to an excessive overflow of non-residents. With this in mind, Preserve Orangetown endorses thoughtful measures to make our parks for residents only. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. William Cologne? Collins.
Tom Lynch spoke for me.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Michael Mandel.
Good evening, Supervisor Stewart, and members of the town board. First of all, I think that the public hearing should have started on time as required. It's an 8 o'clock published thing. It started at 8:15, and starting the meeting in another room with all these people here should have been done on time. But that aside, the registration and admission to town parks, I'm in favor of the resolution, and I have several reasons for it, but the main reason is the town taxes. The use of taxpayer funds to maintain these facilities other than for town residents is a misuse of funds. By restricting access, maintenance costs can be reduced. This in turn will help the town remain under the 2% tax cap. I have several questions regarding the new town law. How will it be enforced, especially on weekends? Will the police department or somebody else actually be out there to check on it? Second, what are the penalties and who will enforce the law again? Are there penalties? There are none that I see written into that. Third, should vehicles using parking at these facilities have window stickers similar to the ones used at the town dump, or could we use the same ones? These are all questions that I don't see answered in this new law. So, as I said, I'm in favor of it, but I have questions, and I think we should have everything should be written down there. Again, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Eileen Larkin, please.
I didn't sign up for the parks.
All right, I'll cross you off.
Don't do that.
Marge Vernora. Pardon me, I'm reading people's script, so, but it doesn't look like Marge Vernora is here. Could be Daly. Mr. or Mrs. Daly? Short name. Got a Daly here? D-A-L-Y? Nope. Can you read that? Sue, maybe? Mr. Tom DePrisco. I know Tom's here. There he is. Yeah. I think she must have left.
Good evening, Supervisor Stewart, members of the council, and the public. Mr. Mandel and Mr. Lynch already made some similar comments, but I just have a few more. I am in favor of ensuring our town, I'm Tom DePrisco from Pearl River, by the way, I'm sorry. I'm in favor of ensuring our town resources are utilized by our town residents. I do however, have several questions or comments regarding the proposed local law. And like the other gentleman asked, how will this new ordinance be enforced? Who will enforce it? This could put a stress on the police department. Another comment, there is a potential for erroneous accusations of park goers being non-residents. Not everyone knows each other and every resident of Orangetown. I'm a little concerned about that. And also, and here's a what if. Where would I pay for a daily non-resident badge on a weekend or after business hours while the park is still open? I ask this because a lot of times I have my family up from Brooklyn, my granddaughter, my stepdaughters, my stepchildren, and I decide to go to, let's say, Veterans Park at the last minute. I don't have that badge or ID. How do I pay that $5 fee? I have a suggestion, because I don't see it in writing on the law. Would you want to utilize maybe Shoprite or CVS to contract out to purchase these badges during the off hours? That's just a suggestion, unless you've already thought of that. Now, there could be a scenario, you have to think about this, where a resident just does not obtain the badge or the ID band, because the law states every resident of Orangetown has to get this. Now, let's say I go to one of the parks, I'm asked for the badge or ID band, I cannot produce the badge, what happens to me? Am I removed, warned, summoned? Not everybody's going to go out and get this, but I'm wondering if, are you thinking about this? And lastly, although I am in favor of ensuring our town resources are utilized by town residents, and I agree with this law, but this essentially becomes a tax or a fee that I did not have to previously pay if I bring my family members or friends. Do you understand? In the past, I could bring people to the park whenever I want to, but now I'll have to pay $5 a head, which I will do to ensure that our town resources and parks are utilized for town residents. But it smacks of a tax or a fee. And I just wanted to end my comments with that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And just for the purposes of clarification, the proposed law does have a guests of family members provision in it. Rabbi Craig Sheff.
I can always count on Esther Ann to give me an applause. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for this forum this evening. I come here tonight representing the Orangetown Jewish Center, where I have served as rabbi for the past 21 years. I've raised 4 children in this community. My boys have played South Orangetown Little League, and my wife graduated from Tappan Zee High School in 1982. I say this simply because I want people to know that I am here as a concerned resident sharing many of the anxieties, many of the concerns that each and every one of us here tonight is feeling. My synagogue has volunteered to be very active in the East Ramapo School District during these past 2 years. I personally serve on the Rockland Clergy for Social Justice. That means going to Albany and advocating for the public school children to make sure that our American values are preserved, that free education, that public school education is something that is cherished by all of us, and that the nature of our communities, given how we emphasize education and the freedoms that we cherish, is exhibited by the ceremony that some of us witnessed this evening in the promotion of police officers. These things are important to us as Americans. They're important to me as an American. They're also important to me as a Jewish person. And I want to extend an invitation to the community that our synagogue stands as a part of this community, ready to help educate, to answer questions, to dispel myths, and to decrease fears about what people believe and how they practice what they believe. It is true that there are those who live insular lives among each and every one of our religions, but I assure you that the Orangetown Jewish Center community is dedicated to the nature of Orangetown, to preserving that character as well, and to thinking creatively and proactively to meet all of the challenges that lie ahead for every one of our communities in Rockland County and beyond. That being said, I want to emphasize personally that I think that the rules with respect to the use of park space could potentially affect me and many other people in an adverse way, in that, as was stated before, for my children to have to go behind my house to Independence Park with a friend and have to pay for that friend because they don't live in Orangetown seems just a bit onerous. And I would hope that while we want to maintain the character of our community and make sure that public spaces are used by its residents, that we make available certain provisions for guests of our residents as well, to make sure that our children don't have to pay for their friends in order to have a game of basketball in Independence Park. I want to thank you for hearing me this evening.
Thank you. Brady Amoon. Is Brady Amoon still here?
Oh, hey.
There she is.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brady Moon Clark. I grew up in Nyack. My dad's from Nyack. My mom's from Congers. I'm a big fan of Rockland County, big fan of public land in Rockland County, and I want to see it preserved for everyone. My daughter loves Veterans Memorial Park. We have friends all over Rockland County, and it is hard to find a place to play. Our friends in Suffern, my daughter's not allowed to go to the Suffern Library Time because that's for Suffern residents only. Our friends in Nanuet and New City, my daughter can't go play at those parks unless the Clarkstown resident gets there first, and because we take 2 cars, the guests, we're not in the same minivan, we're not always admitted. I want my daughter to be able to play with her friends in Orangetown Veterans Memorial Park. If we take 2 cars, if her friend gets there first, we should all be able to play together. I want children to have the opportunity to play together, and I don't want any law, measure, or amendment passed that limits children's opportunities to play outside in the fresh air. That's what I have to say.
Thank you. Anne Marie Ewell.
Good evening, Anne Marie Ewell from Blauvelt. I'm actually here with some prepared comments because what I'm about to speak about tonight is very, very sensitive, and I'm going to be using some sensitive words, but I really believe that it's something that we all need to hear. I am concerned that the conversation the town board plans to have about restricting our use for passive parks will really walk a fine line when it comes to identifying residents or non-residents. It's important for our town to understand that we value our parks, and as long as they're being used properly, nobody should be restricted from their use. I'm concerned that there is an underlying fear that can lead to discriminatory practices. Though this proposed law on the book right now doesn't specifically address discrimination against a group, I sense an undercurrent is beginning to emerge, and it takes some thoughtful people to be brave enough and stand here today. And I like to consider myself one of those people. As a community, we need to be mindful of all the people who live here and all the people who want to have access to people who live here. In this law, I feel that it's creating a hostile atmosphere that's only going to perpetuate discrimination. Asking people to purchase badges and wear them, to me, is extremely disturbing. And that perpetuates really the hate that I'm talking to you about. When I was looking at this, the thought that I'm going to have to access a park with a badge on it and then purchase badges for people at 5 and 10, it doesn't matter what amount you put on. It's reprehensible to me that I need to wear a badge to identify myself when I go to a public park. I've always been a proponent of maintaining and improving our parks and recreation facilities. I know that this requires thoughtful rules and regulations, and I ask that the board be sensitive to the needs of people that are represented in this town and create legislation that keeps the integrity that we all know that we have. I, too, would like to end my statement with a quote by a man named Max Dupree. He's a very astute and wise businessman, and he said, we need to give each other space to grow, to be ourselves, to exercise our diversity. We need to give each other space so that we may both give and receive such beautiful things as ideas, openness, dignity, joy, healing, and inclusion. Thank you.
Amy Wertheim.
Good evening. I'm actually speaking on behalf of someone else tonight who couldn't be here. Her name is Christy Thompson, a resident of Pearl River. She has a few questions with regards to implementations of the plan to restrict the park to Pearl River residents only, or Orangetown residents only. Specifically, what parks does the proposal affect? Are parks maintained by the school districts such as Cherry Brook impacted by the proposal? What exactly does non-resident accompanied by guest of town resident mean? The proposal does not mention anything about how guests of town residents are to be handled. Are town residents allowed to bring guests at no charge, or are they subject to the annual or per diem fees? I am aware that the agenda speaks to that, but I don't think she actually saw the agenda with the explanation when she sent this to me. If my non-resident parents want to take my child to a town park at my request, are they then subject to registration and fees? Are there guest passes that residents can use in such cases? If my child has a permit, is that enough? I am not supportive of any proposal that requires guests of town residents to have to register or pay to be in the parks. I, as a resident, pay enough money as it is that my guests should be allowed to use the parks for free. Given that most area towns are now implementing versions of resident-only policies, the number of parks that I and my guests can use has been drastically reduced. I don't want my town parks that I help pay for to now be off limits to my family and guests unless I pay more money. Further, while I understand the underlying issues and concerns, and share many of them, I fear that the movement that has taken hold in the region to protect parks for resident use will actually negatively impact the Rockland populace overall by restricting the areas one may enjoy rather than achieving its intended purpose. That is a reduction in quality of life, not an improvement. I ask that the board think carefully and with due diligence about the ramifications and end result of policies such as this. Thank you for your consideration of these questions and concerns.
Thank you. If you could just submit that, Ms. Wertheim, if you have the time. Oh, that's great, yeah. Also, anytime people have prepared comments, they're welcome to send them in an email or in other ways, get them to us so that we have that record. Kathy Lagstein-Reese, please.
I'm too short for this.
That's all right.
Hi, my name is Catherine Lamstein-Reese. I'm a resident of Tapan. And I think this proposal is intended to preserve the use of our parks for our residents, but the result would actually be the opposite. It would be taking something very valuable away from residents, and that is the ability to play in the park with family and friends. My sister and my in-laws, who live nearby but not in Orangetown, often go with us to the playground that is 3 minutes from our house. My 3-year-old twin boys love when Papa pushes them on the swings or when their Aunt Johanna goes down the slide with them. And if we have to start paying a fee for every time they want to come with us, our choice is either we're not going to be able to go because they're not going to want to pay that, or we'll go and we're not going to have as much time with our close family and friends. And we usually use the park on weekends when my sister and her baby are with us. So one of those two things is going to have to happen. My other concern, someone mentioned this is essentially an additional tax, and is that going to disproportionately affect the less wealthy members of our community where they can afford to bring friends and family to the parks, but other people can't? Now, when we moved here, our realtor told us this was a family-friendly community. She actually drove us to Veterans Park to show us the park. I was pregnant with the twins, and she said, this is where you're going to go and meet the other moms and play with your kids. And I don't know that we would have chosen to live here if there was a proposal like this, a provision where we couldn't bring, their grandparents or my sister with us. I just don't think that's what a family-friendly community does. But I do understand the impetus that's leading to this, and I have some suggestions for how those goals can be achieved without placing an undue burden on the residents who want to be able to enjoy the park with family and friends. I propose no fee for guests of residents who are there with residents, and it can't be you have to come in the same car because not everyone has an SUV. We have a sedan, we have twins in the back, 2 car seats, so can't have someone come in our car. I would enact a no buses policy and no groups larger than a certain number. A reasonable, I don't know, 10, 15.
It exists. Right.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's all right.
But no, I guess I never went with a big group. But I'd say no group larger than a certain number of people, and those permits are only issued to residents. And you can further say, well, if you don't want one person to get a permit every weekend, limit the number of times a year that that person can get a permit. I think this would limit the concerns that people have without taking away my ability to go enjoy the park with my family and friends. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Reese? Again, if you have comments that are very specific like that, please email them, supervisor@orangetown.com.
Hi, I'm Michael Reese. I live in Tapan. I'm Kathy's husband. I echo a lot of what she said, but in addition, I know there's a lot of fear underlying this situation, and rightly so. I'm not commenting on that, but I'm not sure this is the best way to handle this. I mean, I think there's other things that need to be done to protect the community. You know, there can be zoning changes to the building laws, things like that. But in regards to the parks, I think I agree. You know, residents should not have to pay to have their non-resident friends and family come with them to a park. We have play dates with various parents from various communities that come and want to spend time in our park with us. As long as it's not a huge group, I don't see a problem with it, and there shouldn't be any fee imposed. And the other question, getting back to what some other people said, was who is enforcing this? How is this going to be enforced? And is there actually going to be a cop stationed at every park checking badges? Or is it going to be an honor system, and if somebody sees somebody that looks like maybe they don't belong in Orangetown, they're going to call the police and escort them out? You're walking a very fine line and a tightrope, and you're subject to discrimination by doing that if you know, you're not sure if somebody is a resident or not. It's a very fine line, and I think there's other ways to resolve this issue. And personally, I haven't. We spend a lot of time in Veterans Park in the playground. I haven't seen large groups, influxes of non-residents playing in the park. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it happens. I haven't been there every day, obviously, but I don't see that happening. So I'm not sure this excessive policy needs to be enforced. And if it's not going to be enforced with every person, and it's just going to be subjectively enforced, it's profiling, and you're, again, walking a very fine line and a tightrope legally. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thomas Sullivan.
Thomas Sullivan, Pearl River. Start off by just saying thank you for what you're doing to try and protect our town resources, and making sure that our parks are not, you know, overtaken by non-residents at the cost of our own residents not being able to use the park. Just a couple of questions about this law. I think the last time we met, we were here in this meeting. I think Tom Davini, you said that that the Clarkstown model wouldn't work here, right? Has anybody done any studies to look at this or the Clarkstown model or anything else that's worked in other areas? And that's all.
Thank you. Anna and Richard Tomel.
I signed up in error, sorry.
Okay. Mary Ann Duttweiler? Mary Ann here? Okay. All right. All righty. Richard Kenny? Richard here? There you go.
Hello, my name is Richard Kenny, Pearl River resident, Rockland County resident my entire life, born in Nyack Hospital. People talk a lot of things here. People are talking about discrimination and this and that. I think they're forgetting a few essential points. Number one, you go to the Jersey Shore, you have to have a permit and you have to have a badge to get onto a beach in the Jersey Shore. You go to a state park, you have to pay to go into a state park. You go to a federal park, you have to pay to go to a federal park. There is nothing wrong with a town regulating who can go into what areas and making sure it's for residents. And in addition, whatever little bit of money that you are going to get from out-of-town residents is only going to go to the maintenance of the park. It's going to help everyone here. You're not charging the community. You're not charging residents to get the permit. So people who are talking about this being a tax, It's ridiculous. This is not a tax. They specifically stated that residents get the permit for free. In addition to that, I think that there's nothing wrong with protecting your community and making it that your residents only have a right to be in these areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Now, that's everybody who's signed in on this hearing sheet by raise of hands. Is anybody here to speak who didn't get a chance to sign up? Going once, going twice. No hands are raised. That's for the public hearing about the park law amendment. Now, I guess the question is, do we want to hold this public hearing open or close it? And where do we go from there? And there was also another public hearing, actually, that was advertised. I'm not sure what time we were supposed to do that other one by. Is that supposed to be at 8:05? The town board may decide to,
Do you want to continue it?
Tom, are you all right with that? A motion to continue the hearing, to continue the deliberation.
There's some comments tonight that I'd like to consider. I mean, I drafted this law because I've been working on this. Okay. I've been working on this for more than 2 years. A way to balance scarce parkland. I mean, and the resources we have. We spend $1.1 million a year. We have limited parking. We have limited facilities. We spend a lot of money on this facility, and it's paid for through town tax dollars. So I've looked at it, I've tried to skin this cat many ways, and I've talked to members of the community, and I continue to take their input. And, you know, there were some great points raised today, and, you know, this thing has about 15 different versions. I'm not married to any of them. I'm just trying to do something that works for the town, works for the residents, and I will continue to take input. And I have no problem continuing this hearing. And if you want to get in touch with me, you have my email. You can email me my suggestions. There's no proof of ownership on this law. We're just trying to get something that works best for the community. So I'll make a motion to continue the hearing. But what date do we want to put it on?
Do we have to set a date?
I'd rather put a date so people.
My calendar.
Do we want to do it? I'd prefer.
Next meeting's a workshop, right?
Let's do it at the let's do it in 2 weeks at the workshop. That's 3 weeks, Dennis.
That would be the 14th in that case. That we have a workshop on the 7th and a regular town board meeting on the 14th.
All right, we'll do it on June 14th. I have no problem with that.
All right, so we have a motion to hold this public hearing open and continue it on the 14th of June. We have a second from Councilman Troy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Send them via an email. If you want to send them to supervisor@orangetown.com, I will immediately forward them to all of the town board members, and we'll do it that way. And I welcome and want to encourage, with all due respect, Mr. Diven, you continue. There are certainly things that need to be figured out, but there's a lot of work that's gone into this so far.
But as far as implementation and cost, our director of Parks and Rec has run numbers. Eric and I have gone over implementation and the costs of such an implementation and the schedule for implementation, and I think that should be put on the town website and should be made available, because these are suggestions that me and Eric have gone over, and, again, we're willing to take input on how this should be implemented, but, there'll be some startup costs, and then there'll be annual costs to implement any such law. So I think we should put it on the website so people can look at it and, email us or call us with your comments.
I think what would also be really helpful, Tom, is that there's so much conversation taking place between you and Parks and other, we all have our questions and suggestions, and we've got, it would be helpful to try to put together some kind of a memo describing how the policy would work in operation, because there's certainly, specific questions related to how the people establish their identity and which kind of parks and how enforcement works and so on and so forth. I don't have all the answers to those. I know that each of the town board members have put some thought into this, and I think that the town's folks are entitled to some explanation of how it works before it's voted on. And I know that there have been, obviously there's been legal considerations and questions raised about how exactly you could do this and why not that. For example, Clarkstown. These are discussions that it would be great to hear or see something kind of describing why this makes sense as opposed to alternative ways of going about it. And I know it's not a perfect world and we don't get everything spelled out, but it would be nice to see a little more on that so that many of these questions might be answered by looking at the town website.
I think Dennis is...
Councilman Troy.
Our parks are a very valuable asset to this town. It's one of the things that makes this town a special place. And it's a serious issue. And again, somebody talked about walking a fine line. It's a thing, okay, we're walking a line. You walk a line on most things that we do here. And to me, it's worth the walk. I commend Tom Diviny, working with Eric Gordon, and also working with the legal, some questions about checking out the Clarkstown law, checking out whether this law is legal or not legal. It's one of the reasons it's not being voted on tonight, is the fact that it does need tweaking, all right? But it still needs to be implemented. I believe that 100%. It's a thing where, I've said this before many times, I refereed basketball for 25 years. I've been all over this county. I've been in all sorts of parks, schools, and the county has changed significantly, and not for the better, over the last 15 years. It's a major, major change. And again, I've said this also, Orangetown is an oasis. Orangetown is just a great town. It's why I moved here back 30-something years ago, why some people moved here maybe 5 years ago or 10 years ago, all right? Our job up here as a board is to ensure that the town stays a great place for, in my case, for my children to live here, my 6 grandchildren to live here, right? That's why I'm here on the board. So, again, it's a serious issue. We will weigh the issues, and I expect to implement something in 2 to 3 weeks, whenever we have the next meeting. And again, thank our town attorney, John, for his work, and Tom Diviny.
Thank you. Folks, you can just quiet down for a minute. Councilman Valentine would like to speak.
Okay. I've been talking with Tom about this law almost every day. We've gotten a lot of legal opinions from the lawyers in the town who have also sought outside advice on this, because it is, walking a fine line legally on some aspects of the law. With that being said, I've always been for less government, but I'm also for protecting our residents and our taxpayer dollars. So in my heart, I don't think there should be a charge for residents, because I think we already pay enough taxes. I don't think there should be a charge for resident guests who are with a resident. Can't have a guest go by themselves, because then that leads to, but if there's a resident there with them and that you bring a guest or a family member with you, I would have no problem with that. I think just proof of residency would be good enough. I don't think you need an official badge, but most of us have driver's licenses which say where you live. And I think that would work just fine. But I am for doing everything in our power that we can to restrict our parks to residents and their invited guests, so that we can protect our taxpayer dollars and we can keep underneath the 2% cap while keeping our parks up. So we can offer non-residents a fee base to come in, but I don't think residents should pay a fee. That's my personal opinion. That's what I've been discussing with Tom, and that's what the lawyers have been looking into to see how we can do that legally. So I do support a law to try to restrict as much as possible our parks to be primarily for our residents.
Well said. Well said. Councilman Batari?
I'd just like to thank everybody that came out tonight. By no means did we corner the market on all of your opinions. As I walk around town and stop at different places, I've been talking to a lot of people, and I talked to Paul earlier today. He sent something out, and I agree with his opinion on it. I think that we need to do something. What it is at this point, I am not really sure. I think we have a good basis. I speak with Tom, speak with Dennis. We all talk about this, as all of you do. But hearing it from you tonight, I think, is great. It will help, and it will be listened to, and somewhere we'll come to the middle and meet on it. Okay, so I think the parks are a great resource. I use them for myself, my family, and my guests as well. I think that we all do. We just have to figure out a way to do it. Listen, we figured out a lot of other things in this community. We'll figure this out as well. So thank you for coming out. And like I said, what Paul said, I do support some sort of a law. We just have to figure it out. Thank you.
And just to follow up on what Jerry and Paul and Tom and Dennis were saying, this is one among many things that the town board needs to work on and act on related to preserving the quality of life in Orangetown. Everybody's dedicated to that, and each one is kind of a project in itself. For example, we passed the Do Not Knock registry recently, relatively easy, and I hope everybody who's interested in taking that option has already done so. But if you haven't, talk to the town clerk. We can rein in overzealous solicitation or hawking efforts by doing that. I'm looking to shortly come back with an enhancement of that. And other people who have come in tonight have talked about zoning and other matters which are always a matter of concern to the town board as we work on policies that really support town residents, protecting your quality of life, protecting the tax base, going for good, clean economic development, and making sure that what we treasure so much about Orangetown stays, the way we like it. So there's going to be more meetings. There's going to be meetings on this policy topic itself, which, as you can see, and many have pointed out, has to be fleshed out. And other policy topics are going to come up. And I encourage you to come back to Town Hall to engage online, offline, in a really serious and earnest and well-grounded kind of fact-based debate and proposals about how, as we always do, to run this town in the interest of the town residents. So I thank you for that, and I thank you for your interest, your cooperation, your engagement in keeping that dialogue going. And you can see that the town board takes it very, very seriously. So thanks for coming out tonight. We are going to move on to other items on our agenda tonight. It's always a full agenda here in the town of Orangetown. For folks who want to leave, you're welcome to do that. And we're just going to keep on going. Do you want to take a short break, Tom?
Like 5 minutes.
Okay, we're going to call a 5-minute recess just to give people a chance to sort themselves out a little bit. Thank you. We can actually stand. Esther Baitler has called us to order in her enthusiastic way. Who am I missing? I got 1, I got 2, I got 3. Hey, Tom. We need to start the next public hearing. Divany just left. Oh, it's all right. We still got a quorum. I don't know. All right. Let's see. This one is. You guys ready? We do have a quorum. All right. Item number 5 is open a public hearing on proposed local law amending Chapter 1A of the Town Code to add a new Article 4 having to do with competitive bidding and the procurement process. Do I have a second on opening the public hearing? From Valentine, all in favor say aye. The ayes have it. Let's see. Michael Mandel. Thank you, Michael.
Good evening, Supervisor Stewart, members of the Town Board. For the record, resident of Pearl River. The proposal for best value is reasonable. In my opinion, in the long run, should save the town's taxpayers' funds better spent on other projects than not spent at all. However, this can also be riddled with ethical problems, such as awarding or taking care of businesses with political or friendly connections. And let me make it clear, I'm not referring to the current town board. If this is passed, it should contain language requiring, no, not requiring, mandating that the resolution approving the contract must spell out exactly the reason or reasons with justifying statistics for not going with the lowest bidder, as enumerated on page 6, section A1-12, subdivision A, the last two lines. Factors such as lower cost of maintenance, durability, high quality, or longer life can be documented. This should be included in the supporting documents, open for public review, and attached to the resolution itself. If this is not part of the resolution, then the future of this town could result in Orangeburg looking like another part of Rockland where these things happen on a regular basis. So I think it should be added both from a practical point and from an ethical point. Thank you.
Mr. Mendoza, if you could do me a favor and either give me a copy of that or email it to me, that would be really helpful. Okay.
The law requires that there be documentation of the basis for determining best value.
Yes, and I want that made public and attached to it, not hidden somewhere where it's not seen by the public at large.
This is government.
That's why this country is like it is. It's not out there for public view. Thank you.
Secretary Ferrera, when he gets a resolution.
That's right.
Then you're in trouble. Good guy.
Wasn't the town, always able at some level to consider value in addition to lowest bid?
Normally, what you have is the lowest responsible bidder.
Responsible bidder, so it's
Well,
sort of
I'm
a
saying
version of that.
That's different. That's a different connotation than when you get into the lowest responsible bidder.
I mean, Jim Dean, he's been here so long. He always looks at like, all right, you came in at 20,000, but is it a responsible bid? Did you take into account everything that's going to be need to do this contract? If you haven't, Jim's come and recommended, and all the department heads should recommend, all right, it's not the lowest responsible bidder.
You could have somebody come in as the lowest bidder, and that's happened. You have somebody comes in as the lowest bidder, but they've never, ever done a particular project. They've never done a particular project that they're bidding on. So they really have shown no prior experience. So Paul would notice, from all the bids that he does, but I know it from working up in the county. Again, you have to be careful about what their experiences are, what the companies bring to the plate in terms of what the components of their bid are. That's how you get to the lowest responsible bidder, and it stands up legally if you choose somebody that's a higher bidder, but the other one, for whatever reasons, you decide is not a responsible bidder.
Just so that we're clear, there's a difference between the best value provisions of the law and the responsibility of the bidder. So we have always been able, in the past, to reject a proposal because the board determines for documented reasons that the individual, the company, was not sufficiently responsible. I'd be lying if I told you that we hadn't made best value decisions in the past, because clearly we have. What this law does is makes consideration of those actually legal. The general municipal law requires an addition to our procurement policy in this nature if we're going to consider those other factors, and if we're going to piggyback, which is one of the provisions, on a variety of available municipal contracts without the competitive bidding provision. So we've done some things in the past in good faith which have not necessarily been supported by our procurement policy. This is intended to bring our procurement policy into accord with the legal requirements if we're going to do that in the future.
I'll say just as a little example of this, Jeff and I were talking with a potential, we're going to go eventually, hopefully, out to bid for 2,700 fixtures for the town's streetlights to get the LEDs. There's a lot of variations on those products, and it's not just a question of how much they cost, but where they're made, U.S. versus China, the different components of them and how long they last, the quality of the responsiveness of the company if something breaks or goes wrong or gets lost. So I'm just seeing how there are all these matters that need to be required to make sure the town gets the best possible deal. And I support this revision to make sure that we really can consider and document, as Mr. Mandel points out, the criteria that we're using for accepting responsible and the best value bids. Because like others have pointed out, the lowest bid sometimes just doesn't measure up under all of these criteria for its real value. And we don't want a bunch of lights burning out, 6 months after their warranty expires. So having seen that, having opened the public hearing, heard a comment, is there anybody else here to comment during the public hearing? Yes, ma'am. No, this is about the procurement policy. So let's see, motion to close public hearing on this change in the procurement policy. Do I have a second? Tari, all in favor say aye. The ayes have it. Do you guys want to go straight through with this? Number 7, anytime we change town code, we do SECRA. The designation of lead agency with respect to the proposed local law. The town board hereby declares itself to be lead agency for the environmental review for the change in local law, and goes ahead and issues a negative declaration with respect thereto under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, meaning that this action doesn't have a significant environmental impact. I'll make a motion for that lead agency and declaration. Do I hear a second? Second from Divany. All in favor say aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. Number 8 is the actual adoption of the amended local law, which is written out in its entirety here. Do I hear a motion for this resolution? Over here from Divany, maybe a second from Paul. All in favor say aye. The ayes have it. So that improvement in our town code is now going off to the state to be ratified. Now, do you guys want to go back and just have our public comment for general agenda items? I have a number of people who've signed in, about 12 it looks like. A motion to open our public comment period. Do I hear a second? From Divany, all in favor say aye. The ayes have it. Number 1 on the list is Eileen Larkin. And applause from Esther.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm going to talk about lead.
About what?
Lead,
Lead.
L-E-A-D, lead
Okay.
in the water. Water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. Not even at Town Hall. Here in the lobby, there's a sign on the faucet outside not to use the water. Is this where we will find ourselves if we do not do something about lead being found in our drinking water? Lead has been found in our schools in Rockland County. There is going on presently massive developments here in Orangetown, which detree areas once covered with beautiful trees and home to many wildlife. Already being built, half-built, or three-quarters built is the senior housing. There's a proposed senior care facility over near Anderson Field. The football soccer group is coming in along Veterans Memorial Highway. And I recently learned that a proposed Chelsea Pier-type facility, sports center, is being proposed, whereby 500 parking spaces will be required. This sports center will be located about 200 feet from the Tappan Reservoir. I recently called Suez and spoke to a gentleman there and asked him what type of pipes bring water into my home. He basically could not answer me, but he did look up something, and he said I had copper piping. My house was built in '56. Basically, lead pipes, copper pipes, or people have private wells. That's how they get their drinking water. Suez does not know because their responsibility for water coming into your home ends at the curb. After that, whoever built your home, whatever developer you had, he ran the pipes. It could be a lead pipe, it could be copper pipes. I called DEMI, the Orangetown Department of Environmental Management. They don't have a clue what type of pipes are bringing water into our home. One has to do a lot of legwork to find out exactly, to research this matter. I think it's worth asking you, the town board, to provide this information to an individual if they call and want to learn more about their water that's coming into their home. The water coming into our home affects our health, of our children. It will also eventually lead to the devaluation of our properties if our water is contaminated. I am part of the Water Conservation Group in Rockland County. Proudly, they have done wonderful work for the desal plant, etc. I recently attended Harriet Cornell's meeting that she held in the legislature, and representatives of Suez were there. Have the children, the students who have been exposed to lead, been tested? If not, why not? The Journal News recent article was fantastic. Certain things have to be done. The public has a right to know just what is leaching into our home water supply and into our schools. I'm asking you, the town board, to be advocates for us.
Thank you,
And
Ms.
to look
Larkin.
into this matter. We need legislation that requires water testing to determine who is responsible and what is responsible for our water becoming contaminated with lead. And I also
Your
would
3
like to take
minutes
an
is up,
opportunity
so if
to
you
be
could wrap
extended,
up.
as you often give to other people, but not to me.
Almost always you,
Anyway,
Eileen.
no, never, I'll prove it. I have it written down. To explain, I would also congratulate Greg Capizzuto. He's my neighbor. I'm being appointed as an Orangetown police officer. I'm sure he'll do a fine job, and I wish him lots of luck. So I hope tonight that somebody on this town board will go with the water. Mr. Valentine, you sit on a committee with Mr. Madden, with certain groups of people who do a roundtable discussion. Perhaps you'll go with it.
Thank you. Esther Baitler.
Good evening, Supervisor Stewart, Town Board members, and John Edwards. For the record, my name is Esther Ann Baitler. I'm a consumer who lives at the Kathy Lukens Independent Living Center in Spark Hill. Tonight, I'm here to address what Rena Finkelstein said 2 weeks ago. People who have ADHD do not suffer from it. I can verify that I'm a person who has it, but I'm very high functioning. I also did not like her saying that people with autism is a mental illness. Out of control, it's not right. I live with people who have autism. Let me tell you, I'm proud. Some of them work at Stop and Shop and other places at Venture. I think it is awful when people get up to speak. They shouldn't be allowed. It's HIPAA. They should be board certified. I don't care if it's from Rockland Mental Health, but it should be someone who is board certified to speak about it. not someone who's not. And I think that other people should have been asked to speak from Venture and Geronio. I don't understand why people get up and make comments that are ludicrous. It's wrong. I work at Five Guy Burgers in Nanuet. Even though I have minimal ADHD, attention deficit disorder, with hyperactivity, and I'm proud of the job that my job coaches have done with me at my job. I do 9 multitasking jobs. So I don't appreciate people getting up and saying, oh, people with ADHD or autism suffer from it. No, that's not right. And I think you should have psychologists come in who are board certified at Venture to speak about it. But don't let people speak who don't know what they're saying, because it hurts people. This is part of the ADA Act. I urge you, please do not let people come in and speak unless they have board certified license. Dennis Troy
Thank you,
has
Esther.
trained me well on these issues.
We
Thank
appreciate
you.
that work there. And we all look forward to the day when the only comments made in town hall are ones made by people who are qualified to say them and are right every single time.
But I'm right here.
I know you are, Esther. Thank you. Number 3 is Milbury Polk. There's Milbury.
Good evening, and thank you for letting us speak. I'm part of a group of residents working to protect the beauty and integrity of Palisades, a hamlet of Orangetown steeped in history, which I'm sure you all appreciate. Just walking the halls of this building, you see how much history is a very important part of our town. Palisades, like many towns across the country, is threatened by the slick mauling of America, a mind-numbing sameness that destroys character and history. One component of this is franchises. We ask you to urgently amend the town codes to exclude franchises and formula businesses in the Palisades Historic District. My fellow residents will speak further with much more detail on the subject. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Nemesty.
Hi, I'm Susan Nemesty of Palisades, and I'm here again asking for the amendment to the zoning code banning franchises in Palisades. The community of Palisades is residential, has no business district, only 3 commercial properties, all of which up until now have been mom and pop businesses. Now there is an imminent threat of a franchise moving into one of these properties, and allowing it would set a precedent for any and all franchises in our historic district. We have done our research, and there are countless examples of towns and villages throughout New York State and the country that have banned all types of franchise businesses from their communities. We have provided you, the board, the town supervisor, with this information and have repeatedly requested a meeting with the town attorney. However, since an initial meeting several weeks ago, and despite our plea that this is a time-sensitive issue, we are not getting the response we deserve from our town board. Palisades pays the highest taxes in Orangetown, yet we get the least amount of services. And we're not complaining, but we don't ask for much. We waited 6 years for a sidewalk, and thank the board for this and your help in getting that sidewalk. But now we cannot, and quite frankly, we will not wait. We want this amendment protecting our residential community. In 1997, an amendment was specifically targeting someone wanting to open an automobile showroom in Palisades, where the 9W Market now stands. And it specifically excludes automobile showrooms and supply stores, newsstands, and department stores from Palisades. Now, if an amendment can be made in 1997 targeting an automobile supply store and newsstands and a department store in Palisades, I don't know what the hell they were planning on building, a Target or a Macy's or whatever in Palisades. But I have here, I printed these out, and I've actually sent copies to the board and everything. I have specific laws here that prove that franchises have been banned throughout New York State. Right here, I have repeatedly courts have upheld town ordinances banning franchises, and they used the New York State laws, the New York State Municipal Home Rule, State Historic Preservation Act, General Municipal Law number 96. I graduated from nursing school, not from law school, and now I found myself and my neighbors doing the job that the town attorney should be doing, and we feel that we're being brushed off by this board in hopes that we and Palisades will just go away. We don't have the time. There's a company that literally wants to move in within the next month or so. We don't have the time, and once they move in, we're screwed. There's no going back. Franchises will then have set a precedent in Palisades. There's only 3 commercial properties. We don't have a business district, and we are really asking the board to please put us on the next workshop. We really want to discuss this. There is precedent for it, that it has been done in other times, and the courts will uphold this law. If Tappan doesn't want to do this right now, we understand they're totally different. They have a business district. They'll have to fight their own fight when the time comes. Thank you.
Thank you. Carol Baxter?
Thank you, Town Board, for this opportunity to speak to you. I discussed this last time, and I've sent materials to the board, and I'm piggybacking off of Susan and Milbury. For all travelers traveling north from New Jersey on Route 9W, Palisades is the gateway to New York State, Rockland County, and the town of Orangetown, who is rich in history. Palisades, as Tappan, is renowned for its quaint, charming, and historic character. Palisades is part of the Palisades Park and Tallman Mountain Park systems, a protected natural gem. Tourists traveling here hike along the Hudson River, enjoy the rural nature of Palisades, and like to wander through the streets that are aligned with a majority of homes built between 1738 and 1870, and many of them are listed on the National Registry of Historic Places. Only 12 minutes from the George Washington Bridge and the bustle of Manhattan, Palisades is unique in that it's retained its small town, quiet way of life. This is attractive to tourists, and it is valued by its residents. To retain this historic character, we are asking for the town board to make an amendment to the town code to exclude formula and franchise businesses. As Susan said, in 1997, an amendment was made to this Palisades Historic Code to exclude outdoor newsstands along with automobile sales rooms and automobile supply store, which is most likely in response to a man who wanted to turn the old gas station on Route 9W into a parking lot for his old cars, which would be for his personal benefit, not the community. Thankfully, this was thwarted with this amendment. If something as banal as outdoor newsstands can be excluded, it is our fervent hope that franchises and formula businesses will be excluded because they will do far more damage to our historic district than an outdoor newsstand would. As stated in the Orangetown Town Code, Chapter 12, Historic Areas, the Town Board of the Town of Orangetown hereby determines that portions of the Town of Orangetown located in the hamlet of Tappan and the hamlet of Palisades are of such historic value by reason of places, buildings, and other objects relate to the early colonial history of town of Orangetown and the county of Rockland, to the days of the American Revolution, to the town of Orangetown and the county of Rockland through the 19th century and to the end of World War I, that these areas should be protected by action of the town board. These historic places and other objects within these areas are symbols of this rich heritage, giving them an aspect of appearance reminiscent of an earlier time. It's a purpose and intent of this local law to protect these places, buildings, and other objects, thereby preserve the overall historic look and character within Tappan and the Palisades historic areas for future generations. Franchise businesses, Dunkin' Donuts, whatever, would certainly change that. Regulating commercial development and restricting franchise and formula businesses serves to preserve the small town character of Palisades. Can I just say one
That's
more
okay, Carol.
second?
Go ahead. Finish up.
A primary object of the town of Orangetown's comprehensive plan is to maintain and enhance the special character of the historic districts, which Palisades is of. It is stated in the document of New York State Historic Preservation Plan that cooperation and participation by the elected officials and municipal staff is absolutely critical to the historic preservation efforts. Elected officials, municipal staff, their consultants, property owners, developers, and others have substantial power to directly and indirectly affect the physical, aesthetic, and economic character of these communities. We we are really, as she said, we are under the gun here. We please will hope to be on the next agenda, that we can discuss this and move forward with making an amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Baxter. Michael Mandel. Michael Mandel.
Again, good evening, Supervisor Stewart, members of the Town Board. For the record, Michael Mandel, resident of Pearl River. Item 37 tonight, Sukasa and the WellCare Consulting Grant, Sober Truth on Preventing Underage Drinking. Question, will these funds be used for programs in all the 3 school districts and all the youth of Orangetown? Or will it be like Sukasa tried to do last time and put their grant and their programs only for the South Orangetown and Nyack school districts? Will this be amongst all the school districts again? I hope that will be the case. Just one comment regarding Mrs. Baitler's statement. The speaker she mentioned also inferred autism in her presentation. This is totally incorrect. For the record, it's not a mental illness. It never should have been said that, and hopefully next time somebody comes in for Mental Health Week, they'll have the facts correct. Regarding items 26 and 27, the Pearl River Carnival and fireworks. As the Vice President of the Pearl River Parks and Activity Committee, a volunteer group not affiliated with the town of Orangetown, funded by donations from town residents through the mail, donations in front of ShopRite, and businesses, as well as the carnival held prior to the 4th of July in Pearl River. The funds that are collected are used to pay for the fireworks that are held in Pearl River on the 4th, as well as the band that plays prior to the event. We, the committee, appreciate the town providing additional services noted in the resolution and request your support in passing it. And hopefully we'll see you all there at the carnival and at the fireworks on the 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom DePrisco.
Good evening again, Supervisor Stewart, members of the Town Board, Mr. Edwards and Mrs. Madigan. Tom DePrisco, Pearl River. I just want to commend and applaud the Town Board for ensuring we got funding to bring back the DARE program back to Pearl River Middle School. As you know, many of you attended the 2 ceremonies at the middle school today. The police officers were phenomenal, excellent rapport with the children, and I know I saw Mr. Batari, Mr. Troy, Mrs. Madigan. Beautiful words from you, Mrs. Madigan and Mrs. Stewart at the ceremonies, but I applaud you for ensuring that we got that funding for the DARE program. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for your work with the school district. Barbara Dello.
Hi. First, I want to thank you for, I saw a youth officer on the agenda, and I wanted to thank you for that. As a former school nurse, I'm well aware of the widespread substance abuse problems in the town and among our youth, and how too often it seems that the government officials and police look the other way and say kids will be kids. I'm interested in the training and the philosophy of the new person, and also wanted to say that I believe, wouldn't it be better to look at substance abuse problems as an early intervention type thing among the police officers, rather than wait until somebody really has a problem and then, you know, have that human tragedy. So, and it's here in a big way. You know, when I was a school nurse, it was children of police officers who had severe substance abuse problems, as well as, you know, who you would normally think. It isn't limited, it's widespread. Second, I wanted to say, happened to be at a presentation where it said there'll be between 300 and 500 new units in Nyack, mostly residential. So I wanted to know about the composition of those units. Will they be high rises or low rises, I guess you call it? and what kind of population density will be in the development plans. And the third thing, this is just a little thing, but I wanted to put a clothesline in my backyard. And my husband said there's regulations and restrictions about clotheslines in your yard, putting clotheslines in the yard. So I actually spoke to Mr. Giardello, and I guess that's so. You can't just go put a clothesline in your backyard. So I wanted to know what the restrictions and regulations are about clotheslines, why in God's name you do that. They make your clothes fresh. And it's environmentally sound. You don't have to spend money. It's true. Too much regulation. We don't need regulation saying I can't put a clothesline in my backyard. So please be thoughtful in your regulations. We don't need too much government intervention in our lives. Thank you.
All right.
And can we solve the problem, and can I put it in a clothesline?
I don't think anybody's going to be coming after you on that one. Heather Hurley?
Heather Hurley, Pearl River. Good evening, town board members. I watched the workshop meeting from last week, and to say I'm once again frustrated by the lack of action and lack of leadership that this board has continued to demonstrate when it comes to protecting the residents of Orangetown from the dangers of carcinogens proposed to be manufactured here is an understatement. The public has been essentially begging this board for an amendment since February 2015. Since Inelitech announced in January that they're not staying here to manufacture BTX in Orangetown, this board has had months to work on this particular amendment. And at last week's workshop, the board suggests bringing in a consultant to go over the town code for zoning and planning. I was shocked that during the discussion, it seemed that no one could even determine what to put in an RFP. Can this board acknowledge that this new process is going to take months to review? Councilman Valentine, you even mentioned incorporating some of the codes that Montvale includes in their town code in this code review process. So now you're asking for an entire code review, while at the same time you're all delaying moving ahead with an amendment to actually ban the manufacturing of BTX in this town, and one which could have been successfully written by now. I'm now asking this board if they're prepared to consider a moratorium on any future proposals and expansions in Orangetown involving chemicals, biofuel production, and other such processes while this code review is taking place. Months ago at another town board meeting, some of you agreed that this particular amendment should get passed first and foremost before an entire code review. What has changed since then? Why is this process continually stalled over and over again, leaving the residents of this town vulnerable to more toxic proposals? And speaking of toxic proposals, I'd like to read some of the information obtained from the New York State DEC on aloof plastics, dated March 14th, 2016. Since March, there are 8 pages of complaints about odors. Statements in this letter, issued by George Swikert of the DEC Division Region 3, include, quote, "Department staff hereby allege the referenced facility is in violation of the New York State federal air pollution requirements referenced below." And, quote, "Record keeping was messy, missing dates and times." Quote, "Record keeping requirements were not in satisfactory order, and a warning notice was sent by DEC staff." Once again, if the DEC is alleging violations and documenting multiple complaints on odor, why isn't the town enforcing at least the odor violation? Why did John Giardello state that he sent someone from the town to check it out back in February, and now we're being told that the town doesn't enforce that? Can someone please explain, while keeping the DEC out of the answer, why the town is giving different answers and not following up with a blatant code violation on odors? And to provide an answer to Councilman Divney's assertion that Clarkstown doesn't have performance standards, they actually do have performance standards listed in section 290-13 of their town code. And just one last thing, on the emissions, it states, quote, "Applicable to all non-residential uses, no emission which can cause any damage to health, to animals or vegetation or other forms of property. Benzene is a known carcinogen and an emission that would have been spewed by Inelitech. And by furthering a delay in closing one loophole on carcinogens such as benzene, you are all leaving the people of this town at risk." Thank you.
Thank you. Amy Wertheim, still here?
Hi, Amy Amy Wertheim, Pearl River. I have a question regarding the do not knock law, and I hope someone can answer it for me. How are the hawkers and peddlers notified of new people signing up for the register? So hypothetically, say 10 people signed up today. They get their sticker and their name is on the registry. How does Cablevision or Optimum Online or any of the realtors know that there are new people signing up? The reason I'm asking is because people are on social media saying they are signed up and they are getting knocks on the door. I spoke up and said, you have to call the police, you have to let them know. But I want to know, how do these people know that new people are on the list? If that makes any sense. I want to articulate it properly. Say a dozen people sign up tomorrow. But the hawkers and peddlers
And it is-
get a refreshed
It's their
list.
responsibility.
It's their responsibility. So they're not coming down to town hall every day and asking for the new list, are they? So the responsibility still becomes that of the homeowner to make sure that they notify the police if they get a knock on their door.
As always.
When we pass this law, though, I advise the supervisor that he should be sending this out to Cablevision. He should be sending it out to Realty Teams, Keller Williams, BHG Rand, Joyce Realty, Wright Brothers. We should be sending it out. We should send them a letter and say we have a no-knock list, and that your realtors should be aware of the law, and that there are penalties, and send them a copy of the law. That's what we should be doing.
It almost seems like an online live list that they can go to on a daily basis to see who they can and cannot knock on their door. I'm not making more work for anybody, but I doubt that Cablevision, Optimum Online, Realty Teams, Weichert, Wright, and et cetera are coming down on a daily basis to make sure they don't knock on our doors. And I get it. It's a drag. But the fact of the matter is, signing up for the registry is kind of a secondary. In other words, they're not honoring it. They're not looking at the list to say, oh, I can't go to Amy's house, or I can't go to Heather's house, or I can't go to Dennis's house or Andy's house. They are simply, on a whim, hit or miss. So I think it has to be urged that the community really needs to be vigilant. And
I
I
agree
think
with
that's
you.
my point, is that they have to make the phone calls, and I don't think they're getting it.
Amy, these
I
are-
have one in my door. And a lot of other people do, and they're still
Right.
getting the knock, so.
Well,
Then
These
those
are
are,
supposed to be, it's supposed to be like a double check, right?
Yep.
This is check one. When these people are notified, and they were all supposed to have been notified that this registry has now been formed, when they see this, they're not supposed to knock on your door. People are gonna do it anyways.
Right.
So then it's up to the public to call the police. Then the police will inform them, I think the first time is a warning, that you're supposed to get the do not knock list, and you're supposed to get it on a daily basis if you're going out again to do this again. And anybody you see with this sticker, you should not be knocking on the door. I think they give one, I'm not sure how many warnings or whatever, but it's really, you're right. It is behooving upon the public to call the police if they do not want to be disturbed and they have this on their window.
Okay,
and document the violations.
telling people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the support on that.
Amy, the law was just instituted. The sticker is the fail-safe. So if they're responsible for the list, if they get to a door and there's a sticker there and the name's not on the list, they still shouldn't be knocking. You know, so until it starts to go and until it starts to go, there's going to be some errors in it. But that's why I think it was the last meeting or so, that they were asking about, you know, do I have to take a picture of it? If you have a name or a plate number, if something's there, it will help the police department to locate the person that's actually doing it.
I think the
Thank
sticker
you.
is essential, and I think people really have
I
to
agree.
pull that
They
in.
need to put that in their window.
Because even if the list is, it should be updated, but if the list is not updated, the fail-safe is the sticker on the window.
Okay, thanks.
I also know I had a phone call last week and this week from a Cablevision solicitor that I used to ref basketball with. And he was complaining about a law that it's hurting his business. And he's saying all his other solicitors do know about the Orangetown law. So I'm just
Word
giving you
has
that
gotten out.
one slice of the pie. I don't know in general, but.
Thank you. Maureen and Brian Freer, are you still here? No? Okay. By raise of hand, anybody else here for public comment and of a general nature? Yes, sir. I see your hand up. Yeah, you. Yep.
Hi. Good evening. My name is Tom O'Leary. I'm from Pearl River. I have a couple things to ask some questions about. I've been here for, granted, not as long as I should, probably the last 3 or 4 meetings, and I'm not going to speak as eloquently as Heather has about Aloof, but I do a lot of business with Aloof. I rent heavy construction equipment, and for what it's worth, I think it is valuable to know the people that run the plant. They're not the most intelligent customers that I have. Again, take that for what it's worth. Some of my electrical contractors are very intelligent, but not all of my customers are the most intelligent, and it would not shock me if their temperature levels were not exactly where they should be. I get a lot of very odd phone calls from Aloof Plastics. You know, again, take it for what it's worth. I have one more question about the parks issue, and I guess what I would do is I would ask the board to consider the fringe areas of our town. I live in Pearl River, but we're essentially in a Bermuda Triangle, right? I have Nanuet to the back of me, Pearl River where I am, and Chestnut Ridge to the right of me. In 1 week, one street over from mine, 5 houses were sold. Right now, 3 more are sold, and they stay empty for about 6 months, right? And then they change. Down the street from me, there's a park that is completely different that you can't bring your kids into because they are aggressively told to go away. So I feel like there's a lot of people who are against the parks initiative who are in Orangeburg and Palisades and further down that do not have to deal with Chestnut Ridge and Spring Valley and Muncie. I hope that we are addressing not just the town as a whole, but the fringe areas as well. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks for the comment. Raise of hands. Anybody else here for public comment? And then the town board will respond. Not seeing anything. Motion to close from Tom Divney, second from myself. All in favor say aye. You want to start down here on the left, Mr. Valentine? All right. Councilman Divney? Do you want some water? What do you like? Yeah, I'll give you all the list, but I put notes on them, so I'm going to make copies of them first, all right?
I don't know, it's sort of a question, but I hear about the franchise formula stores, and I'm listening, and we have been in discussions. I know John's been working on some things with it because he's been sharing it with the town board. So it is not going on deaf ears. We are listening. I think it's called a 9W Market, but they have a hamburger part to it. What's the name of the hamburger part? The filling station. So the filling station now opened a new one up in Haverstraw. Does that make them a franchise since they have 2 stores?
The definition is 11 or more.
11 or more is the
proposed
definition?
code,
Okay,
yeah.
I was just wondering, because I was like, what does that do to them? Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah. Tom, anything? Over here, Dennis, Troy, anything? Jerry?
Well, Mrs. Ella left, but what I would suggest that if anybody's concerned, the DARE graduation today was a wonderful opportunity. There's back. There's no doubt there is an opiate problem in the town, and we're not alone with that. What was a little bit different, and I was children in. They had a film from someone up in, I should put this on, right? Someone up actually right over the border in Jersey. And he explained his life and what went on to the parents. If you have the opportunity, whether you have a child there or not, I would suggest that you go and take a look at it. It is a problem, medicine chests. You know, how many medicines are there that you don't need anymore or you had at one time? You know, it just starts. And, you know, as far as the police department goes, and the chief's back there, and I think we can all say, you know, the police department is doing what it can, but, you know, it's the schools, it's their model. It's the schools, parents, and the police department together. Not one arm can take care of it by itself. So that was for Mrs. Dello, but I guess it doesn't hurt everybody else to hear it as well.
I want to add on to that. You know, in terms of the DARE graduations today, what was different about the DARE graduations today was the police department administration and Jerry Batari ended up introducing this to bring DARE back. DARE had stopped, you know, due to budget cutbacks, but it was brought back not at the 5th grade level, it was brought back at the 7th grade level. And is definitely, from my experience on the Substance Abuse Committee, you know, here in the town, it starts 7th grade, 8th grade. It starts, you know, fairly early. 5th grade, going to DARE graduations through the years. Kids are very angelic, saying, no, I won't do this, I won't do that. But I believe it has far more impact as you get into the 7th grade, 8th grade, et cetera, you know. So I commend again the police administration and Jerry in bringing it back. So thank you.
No, it was a really special graduation. Just a couple notes. Michael, regarding the Sukasa thing, if you could just chat with Jeff quickly about that at the end of the meeting. Sukasa and Candle are different organizations, and there's a financial arrangement that enables the, just talk to Jeff about it. The Sukasa one has to do with a grant and the kind of fiscal conduit that the town provides. The in terms of the Palisades, Carol and Susan, and I hear you guys, you know I've heard you. We sat here with probably 10 people, Larry and others. The spirit of your point is really well understood, and I agree. You know, franchises are a violation of the spirit of preserving local identity. Where the question is in the definition and what elements can be supported with land use law and what elements are outside of land use regulation. And right now there's disagreement, and that's where we're at with it. And I talked with Susan about this yesterday, and we'll meet later this week and go over where I think we're at as far as what the town can and can't do based on my understanding of it. So we'll continue to work on that. But it's certainly a shared concern, and it's certainly not something that's fallen on deaf ears by any means. I just wanted to mention before we go on, just briefly, because I promised the veterans that I would, Memorial Day is coming up, and that's a big and really important day in Orangetown and all of the hamlets. The day before Memorial Day on Sunday is the ceremony at the Walkway of Heroes at 10 o'clock. And the VFW 1516 and others, with our support from our Parks Department, organizes that. And I want to encourage everybody to, as many of us do, to come out and support the veterans and remember their service and come out to the Walkway of Heroes on Sunday at 10 o'clock. And thanks to the folks who organized that. Getting back onto our agenda for the night, let me see if I can figure out where we left off. There was... Okay, we did all the police appointments already. Okay.
I'll make the motion to nominate Terrence Ambrose.
A second from Jerry Batari. All in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Charlotte, number 14 is approved. We had a nomination from Divany, a second from Batari on 14, a nomination from Divany, second from Troy on 15. All in favor say aye. A nomination from Valentine, second from Batari on 16. All in favor say aye. Number 17 is surplusing of vehicles. There are 4 Crown Vics. RIP, off to greener pastures. I'll make a motion for this. Do I hear a second? From Batari, all in favor say aye. Crown Vic's an amazing car. Number 18 is authorizing release of a performance bond. I'll make a motion for this. Do I hear a second? Anybody interested in this? From Batari, all in favor say aye. 18 is approved. Number 19, this is the agreement with Noble Ninth for use of the picnic grounds, the Masonic Campground, commonly known. We thank the Masons for allowing the town to use their site and for all their cooperation through the years and support. I'll make a motion for this. Do I hear a second? From Troy, all in favor say aye. The ayes have it. Number 20 is a tax certiorari, about 200 East Erie Street, and it's worth about $1,600 to the town. I'll take a motion for this. Who's got a second? Divany, you want to do a second on that? All in favor say aye. Number 21 is the appointment of Tom Willinger, hopefully I pronounced that right, to the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee. Do I hear a second? Second from Troy. All in favor say aye. The ayes have it. Number 22, reappointing Bill Beckman to the Sanitation Commission. This side is Batari. Second from Troy. All in favor say aye. Number 23 is the lease agreement for the cell tower. We thank our town attorneys for hammering that out and getting us a 3% increase on that. I'll make a motion for that. Do I hear a second? From over here from Divany, all in favor say aye. The ayes have it. Number 24, this is event support at the Greek Orthodox Church. Do I hear a motion for this one? From over here, Batari. Second from Troy. Any discussion? You guys all right? All in favor say aye. The ayes have it. 25. 25 is the Memorial Day in Tapan with highway support and police support. I'll make a motion for this. Do I hear a second? Valentine, all in favor say aye. It's a beautiful event down there. Number 26 is the Pearl River Carnival fundraiser, 4th of July celebration. Take a motion from Troy on this. Second from Batari. All in favor say aye. Sorry if I'm rushing too much here. Number 27 is approving aid to the Pearl River Parks and Activity Committee for the fireworks. Thank you, Mr. Mandel, for your work on that. All in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. I think I made a motion for that, and Valentine seconded it. Charlie's got that. Number 28, approve aid to Pearl River Hook and Ladder Ladies Auxiliary for the craft fair on July 10th. Hear a motion from over here for Valentine, second from Divany. All in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Number 29, this is the Rockland County Traffic Safety Board, barricades, trash cans, message boards, and so on. Okay, a motion from Batari, second from Troy. All in favor say aye. Approving aid to the Soapbox Derby in Pearl River. Who wants to take that one? Batari will make a motion, and maybe Tom Divany, who's got his office right there, will do a second. All in favor say aye. That's on the 22nd of, whoa, the trials took place already. Looks like June 5th. We're on number 31. This is from Parks and Rec. There's the county pride event with a showmobile on June 12th. I'll make a motion for this. Do I hear a second? Second from Batari. All in favor say aye. The ayes have it. 32. This is awarding a bid. This is right, Eric? Okay. The custom garden landscaping for mowing over at the RPC properties. I know there was one bid that wasn't quite ready yet. Motion from Divany, second from myself. All in favor say aye. Keeping it looking nice over there. Number 33 is certifications of registration for sewer work. 2 companies listed. I'll make a motion for this. Second from Troy. All in favor say aye. The ayes have it. Thank you, Joe Moran, and all your staff for your good works down there. Number 34, this is where it really counts, the sanitary sewer improvements bid to NTEC for about $1.6 million, lowest qualified bidder. I'll make a motion for this. Do I hear a second? Somebody want to spend some money? Valentine, all in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Number 35 is a contract for odor control at the wastewater treatment plant. And there's some whereases in there. And we thank the staff down there for driving a hard bargain and also doing their best to operate the place in a way that doesn't cause odors. I'll make a motion for this. Do I hear a second? From over here. Valentine, all in favor, say aye. Sorry, Dennis, I'll get you on the next one. Oh, here we go. 36 is streetlights, moving ahead with the agreements with Orange and Rockland to initiate a purchase, and more to follow on the bidding process for lights and installation and stuff like that. I'll make a motion for this one. Do I have a second? From Batari? That's just the way it's written. All right. You want to make the motion, Dennis? You're welcome to it. All right. Motion from Troy, second from myself. All in favor, say aye. The ayes have it.
Wait a minute, this is now the purchase of streetlights, right?
Right. 37, this is the Sukasa Wellcore grant. No, but Sukasa is different, actually. It's a confusion over groups. Do we need to amend 36? All right, let's make sure that's corrected. Let's just step back 1 second. Councilman Divany has discovered an error in number 36. There was supposed to be a correction to this saying that obviously.
Let's just put resolved subject to town attorney's consent and approval. That the town board authorizes the supervisors to sign the following.
Okay. All right, Charlie?
Approval and what was the other?
Right after resolve, subject to the town attorney consent and approval, comma, the town board authorizes. Well, that sounded good that way, too. I'll make a motion to amend this as Tom Divany has suggested. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thanks for that catch. So on to Sukasa, which is different from Sokasa. Any further discussion on that? I can't remember if we voted on it yet or not. I think. Okay. I'll take a motion to support this resolution, helping these guys out and getting paid for it from Tario. Troy, you want to second that? All in favor, say aye. Number 38, this is from the Finance Department, getting some trainings for some key personnel in the BAS tax system training.
Moved.
Moved from Divany, second from myself. All in favor, say aye. Thank you for pursuing that, guys.
Second on that?
I did. 39 is a received file in the town clerk's office, and there's several documents listed there. I'll make a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Divany, all in favor, say aye. 40, accepting the retirement resignation of Nick Gaddy, effective July 15th, from Environmental Management.
Moved.
Moved from Divany, second from over here. Batari, all in favor, say aye. 41 is my one in here, which is adding $12,000 to a line for the assistant to make her full-time for the rest of this year. I'll make a motion for that. Do I have a second? Anybody can second that one? Yeah. Yep, Batari. All in favor, say aye.
Roll call.
Roll call. Charlie Madigan, please. Roll call on that.
All right, Supervisor Stewart?
Yes?
Councilman Yes. Councilman Troy?
No.
Councilman Divany?
No, this position was put in the budget by the supervisor's office with his financial director. The challenges that are presented to the town then are the same as they are now. This is an item that will add not just $12,000, but benefits of $20,000, and effectively makes this position a full-time position. This is something that should be discussed during the budget process, which it was done last October. You know, I read the supervisor's reason for it, but again, this has been done before with the IT. I think if you're gonna budget for a position, you shouldn't be changing it mid-year. So the answer is no.
Councilman Valentine?
Yes.
I thank you for your support on that. And then we can move on to the next item. Number 42 is granting permission to Sken Skibinski to attend the professional training on June 5th through 8th. I'll make a motion for this. Do I hear a second? Second from anybody over here? Ken, go to conference? No?
Yes.
Yes. Valentine? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The last item is our audit. Finance Director Jeff Bensick is providing that, and then we'll have adjournments, unless there's any other business the town wants to talk about. Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, the audit for tonight's meeting consists of 4 warrants for a total of $2.464 million. The first warrant consists of 36 vouchers for $116,000, and was for utilities. The second warrant consists of 6 vouchers for $836,000, and was for our insurance renewals and project graduation, mostly insurance, obviously. The third warrant consists of 34 vouchers for $136,000, and was for utilities as well. And then the fourth warrant consists of 277 vouchers for $1.375 million. Items of interest, 1 and 2 contracts for applied golf. Number 3, Barry Burners, $64,000 for Blue Hill Mansion air conditioning replacement. Number 4, Capasso, $48,000 for recycling. Number 8, JP Morgan, $53,000 for the Siemens Energy Performance contract. Number 9, New York State Department of Civil Service, $639,000 for health benefits. Number 10, O'Connor Davies, $27,000 for GASB 68 audit.
Can I ask you a question on that?
Sure.
Are you going to see that audit?
Yes, they're finishing up the last bit of it, and so I would expect in mid-June we'll have their presentation. Number 12, the New York Comptroller, $30,000 for Justice Court fines, and number 13, Tilcon, $53,000 for highway materials. Any questions about the audit?
Motion to accept the audit. Do you have a second? Who wants to spend some money? From Divany, all in favor say aye. Oops, lost my page. Tonight, I'm sorry.
I don't mean to be out of order, but there's one ceremony from Memorial Day weekend you don't have here, 8 p.m. on Sunday evening at Bronsdorf Park. I believe it's the American Legion. They're having the candlelight vigil for all the war dead from Rockland County.
Yeah, they start the vigil on Sunday night, and then they go around the clock.
Right, but there's a special, candlelight vigil at 8 o'clock, and the 24-hour bit is 12 noon to 12 noon. But
Thanks for pointing that out, Tom.
I should have noticed it earlier.
We
So.
tried to collect all of them
I
and
know.
try to promote attendance at all of these Memorial Day events. And we'll update the list and distribute it in as much as we're able to get it out to people. Hopefully they're picking up that information themselves. Let's see, where were we? Oh, on the adjournment. Ending the meeting tonight in memory of 5 individuals from Orangetown, near and dear to Orangetown families: Dorothy Byrne, Raymond Fernario, Maureen Shanahan, Verna Whalen, and Isabel Wartendijk, in whose memories I make a motion to adjourn this meeting. Do I have a second? Second from Divany. All in favor say aye. The ayes have it. Thank you very much.